Maya had dreams bright, bold, and full of color. They danced on the pages of her sketchbook, waiting to burst into life. But like so many of us, she whispered the same quiet promise to herself every single night: "I'll start tomorrow." She held her future in her hands, a vibrant tapestry of fashion and creation, yet she would sigh, close the book, and tuck it away. Tomorrow was always a day away, a safe, distant horizon where everything would be perfect. She was convinced that tomorrow held the key, that it was the magical time when she would finally be ready. But tomorrow has a way of becoming someday, and someday often becomes never. Her days were spent in a dull clothing store, folding shirts in a mindless rhythm, her own creative spark dimming with each repetitive task. The world around her kept moving, but she felt stuck, a bystander in her own life. Behind the register, a small, forgotten clock hung on the wall, its hands frozen at 7:10, a silent, unintentional symbol of her own paused ambitions. She told herself she was just waiting for the right moment, the perfect opportunity. After she saved enough money, after she got a little better at her craft, after the stars aligned just so. But the perfect moment, she was beginning to fear, was a myth. A customer, noticing the intricate doodles on a stray napkin, once told her, "You're so talented, Maya. Why aren't you designing?" Maya just offered a faint, practiced smile. "Someday," she'd reply, the word tasting like an old excuse, "when I have more time." That evening, seeking refuge from her own thoughts, Maya found herself in her grandfather's attic. It was a dusty sanctuary of forgotten things, each object a ghost of a memory. Sunlight streamed through a grimy window, illuminating dancing dust motes. Among the old chests and draped furniture, she found a small, peculiar hourglass tucked away in a wooden box. Attached was a simple, handwritten note, "For when you think you have time." She chuckled at the cryptic message, thinking it was just another of her grandfather's quirks. Out of curiosity, she flipped it. The sand inside didn't just fall. It began to glow with a soft, ethereal light. And as the first grains trickled down, the world outside her window fell eerily silent. The gentle hum of the city, the distant bark of a dog, the ticking of the old grandfather clock downstairs, all of it vanished. Everything froze. The dust motes hung suspended in the sunbeam. In that sudden, profound stillness, a breathtaking realization washed over her. Time had stopped. But only for her. The hourglass in her hands was now her own personal clock, pulsing with a golden light against a world that held its breath, hesitantly at first, and then with growing wonder. Maya stepped out into the frozen streets. It was a scene from a dream. People were caught mid-step, their faces frozen in expressions of conversation and haste. Birds hung in the sky like delicate ornaments, their wings poised in mid-flap. Traffic lights were stuck on a permanent, silent red. She called out, but her voice was swallowed by the immense quiet. No one moved, no one responded. The world had become her personal, silent diorama. At first, it felt magical, like the ultimate gift. Endless hours stretched before her, a blank canvas to fill with her dreams, to plan her future, to finally create without pressure or deadline. She ran back to her apartment, pulled out her sketchbook, and began to draw. For hours, days, or what felt like weeks, she sketched, painted, and designed with a passion she hadn't felt in years. The sand in the glowing hourglass fell steadily, each grain a silent second gifted just to her. She filled pages, then canvases, creating the vibrant collections that had only ever existed in her mind. But soon, the silence that once felt like freedom began to feel like a cage. It grew heavier, more profound. She missed the sound of laughter. She missed the comforting drone of her mother's voice on the phone. She missed the simple, rhythmic heartbeat of time itself, the pulse of a world alive and moving. Her apartment floor was now covered in her creation's masterpieces of fabric and color. Born from the stillness, she had done it. She had created everything she ever wanted. But as she looked at her work, a deep ache settled in her heart. They were beautiful, but unseen. They were brilliant, but unshared. She was an artist with no audience, a voice in a vacuum. She looked at the hourglass. The last few grains of golden sand were slipping through the narrow passage. She had been given all the time in the world, an infinite stretch of tomorrows all at once. And in that vast emptiness, she finally understood. It wasn't more time she had needed. It was life. It was connection. It was sharing her work with a world that moved and breathed and felt alongside her. Time without life was meaningless. With a soft, final whisper, the last grain of sand fell. Asterisk, tick asterisk. The clock on the wall, the one in the clothing store, the one in her heart, it all started moving again. The world exhaled and sound rushed back in. And when time returned, she realized the profound, simple truth. She didn't need more time. She just needed to use the time she had. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the same cracked window. The clock on her bedside table ticked forward 7:10 a.m., the exact same moment where her life had once felt stuck. But today, everything was different. A genuine smile spread across Maya's face. There was no hesitation, no sigh of resignation. She reached for her notebook, flipped it open to a fresh page, and with a confident hand, began to sketch. For real this time. Not for tomorrow, but for right now. The world hadn't given her a second chance. She had finally decided to take the one she had all along. And in the rhythm of a pencil against the paper, a new promise was made not to start tomorrow, but to live today. Thank you so much for watching. If this story resonated with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear it. See you in the next one.